Hello and welcome to Film with Family. I'm Austin.
And I'm Zach.
And we're two cousins talking about film. Today we're talking about the 1996 classic disaster film Twister, starring Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton and a lot of really great actors.
Yeah, I mean, I watched this movie last year, I think maybe for the first time, because I was seeing somebody and like it was one of their favorite movies, so I watched with them, and I had a great time, and I had an even better time rewatching it last night. So I'm excited to get into it.
Fantastic. And for this episode, we have a very special guest, my stepsister, Kimberly Boulton.
Hello, everybody.
You and Zach are somewhat related. You are family. I tried to look this up. How is a cousin related to a stepsister? And I think technically you guys are step cousins.
Yeah, I think that would be about right. We're not like a once removed situation. I don't think that applies. We're just a step cousin.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a historic moment in our family because this podcast, if does nothing but bridge divides within families, and we are uniting two sides of this family that have never met. So Zach Zweifler, meet Kimberly Boulton.
Hi, Kim. It's great to meet you, step cousin.
Hi, Zach.
So yeah, just to clear it up for anybody who doesn't know, my mother married Kim's father, Steve Downs, and now you are in your own family. You married Rich Boulton, which I hope that we get him on here at some point.
Oh, he's got plans. He's got plans.
And you have three lovely children.
Indeed.
I am their stunkle.
Step uncle.
Step uncle.
Stunkle.
And so Ruby and Ophelia are the twins, and they're what, almost 10 now, or they're 10, 11?
They're 11. They'll be 12 in September.
Wow, almost teenagers, preteens.
Don't say that.
And also Oscar, who goes by Ozzy B.
Ozzy B, and he will be 9 in a matter of weeks.
Wow. So, and Zach is my cousin.
Yeah. Yeah. Mark is Liz's brother, and he's also my dad.
There you go.
That's how that works.
So I'm so glad to unite you two. I love you both deeply, and you both love the movies.
Love the movies.
So Kim, you're also an actress. Do you want to talk a little bit about your background as an actress? Or I know that you're still working in theater to a degree.
Yeah, not on the acting side so much anymore, but that was what my degree was in and what I did for a really long time, including a little bit of voice acting. But now we are out in Colorado, and Rich and I started a outdoor theater company, Arts in the Open, that works primarily up in Boulder, and you hike from scene to scene. So we get up on the trail, you sit down, watch a bit of the show, move on. And it's a leave no trace company. So that's a huge part of our mission. And so more on the management side now. And then I teach children's theater and direct children's theater, which is my fave thing to do, including my own kids, which is pretty outrageously awesome.
That's so cool. Are you working on any theater productions right now?
We are. So I teach at their school 1 day a week, and we're rehearsing an original script written by my boss called The Black Forest Tree Gang. And that premieres April 6th.
Whoa, plug-in already.
Uh-huh.
And theater out in the open, it's a good thing that you're not in Tornado Alley, because that could pose a problem.
That would pose a real problem.
Have you ever had like some kind of weather event happen on the trail during a theater performance?
Not so much on the trail other than lightning, thunderstorms. Like we've had to come back down before. Bears. We had a bear thing one time. We didn't see the bear, but we were stopped by the people on the trail and we're like, you need to turn around. But no, I grew up in earthquakes and hurricanes, which I think is why I'm so fascinated with tornadoes, because I only had one instance. It was in Colorado and it didn't even touch down, but the sirens went off and the whole thing. And it was insane. It was just, it was one of the craziest things. And we were in Hurricane Andrew. We were in huge earthquakes growing up in LA. But yeah, that tornado scare was a big one. We had to go down to the basement. It was the whole thing.
That was in Colorado?
It was, yeah.
Where were you living?
First house. So we were in Littleton area and we woke up to the sirens. The girls were like 6 months old, maybe. And so we had to go down to the basement and it was so intense. We ended up having to get new roof, new windows, new paint, the whole thing.
Whoa.
And nothing even touched down. Like that was just the possibility of a.
Wow.
But yeah, so I can't imagine living in a place where that just it scared the shit out of me for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, growing up in Michigan, tornadoes are pretty much the only thing we have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
And nothing really ever seriously came through, though. There was multiple instances of having to go in the basement and doing tornado drills and stuff at school. But yeah, they're cool and they're scary at the same time. They're fascinating, tornadoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely have memories of growing up in Detroit and us going into the basement to hide from a tornado. And I remember it being really fun. It's like, I remember it was like, ooh, let's get in the basement. It's like a storm. We're like,
Yep.
Don't go by the windows.
Get in the door frame.
Yeah,
It's a whole
like
thing.
stand in the door frame. I'm like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but I'm standing in a door frame. I guess
Yeah.
that's the safest place if your house collapses.
I guess. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's looked into it. They're just like, yeah, we just do this.
I just do what I'm told.
But I had a really crazy tornado experience in Chicago, actually.
Mm.
It was, there's Ganoush.
Ganoush popping in.
Little cameo from Zach's cat. This was August 2020, and I had just moved into my new condo like a week before this had happened. And, I just was going about my day like normal, and me and my friends had a plan to go to the Music Box Theater to see Night of the Living Dead. And so I drove over to the Music Box Theater. We're hanging out in the theater, and it's just hitting the climax of the movie when like all the zombies are descending on the cabin, and all of a sudden the picture goes out, but the sound is still on. And we were like, what's going on? And then all of a sudden in the rafters we hear like just this crazy noise. All of the doors in the back start flapping, and we're like, is this a joke? Is this like a prank? Because we're like at the climax of this, classic scary movie. And then all of a sudden the floodlights turn on, and they turn on just what I think is like, they're like, we're having technical difficulties music, which is like this like 1920s like flapper music. It's like,
Oh my
like,
God.
what is going on? And so then we, because the movie stops, we go outside, we look out the door, and there are trucks with like branches being dragged behind them. Like the wind is whipping like crazy. And yeah, it was a tornado.
You were like the drive-in movie sequence at Twister, where it's the climax of The Shining.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Except you weren't outside. That's like the only difference.
It really was. Yeah, the movie's Attack.
Yes.
But a tornado touched down on Lake Michigan right outside of Chicago, and I live right on the lake. My neighborhood had been hit the hardest, and it literally went right down my street and took out all these trees, crushed cars. There were like electrical fires, and the next day, like me and all my neighbors were like sawing down trees and pulling tree branches out of like gates. And I was like, welcome to the neighborhood. Like I just moved there.
That's wild.
But so let's get into it. Twister, 1996. This movie kind of kicked off a spate of 90s disaster films. You had movies like Dante's Peak and Volcano and Deep Impact, Armageddon, Day After Tomorrow, all pretty much a direct result of the success of Twister. And so they kind of set the tone on that kind of film.
So it was a big hit.
It was a huge hit.
Yeah, really big hit.
Kim, I'm just curious, why do you love this movie and when did you first see it?
So I was 12 when this came out, and I'm pretty sure I saw it in the theater with my dad. And I have like a weather thing. Like I love natural disasters. I love weather. If people are ever in a storm, like last year, my parents, well, and your parents kind of moved back to Chicago just for the summers, and they had a tornado situation. And my dad called me just to tell me how jealous I would be that I wasn't in it with it. Like no fear, just like you would love this.
Yeah.
And it just like I love everybody in it. And really for me, it's Philip Seymour Hoffman all the way. Like that.
Yeah.
That was probably one of the first times I saw him.
Dusty
brings it all home for me. So I love it, just everything about it. It's the natural disaster part of it. It's the actors. It's the love story component. It's the it's just everything. The scientific part of it with trying to, get the warning system better and all of this. And I just fell in love with it. And it's one of those, it started out as like, when you're in a hotel and there's only cable TV and certain movies that come on, you just have to stop. Like you just have to stop.
Yeah.
And so that was always one of mine.
Yeah.
And it was on cable TV. It was on TV in hotels a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And the obsession just continued. And I still think it holds up. I still think it's amazing.
Is your favorite movie?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like if I were hard pressed to pick, I would say, and I feel like there's two kinds of people. Like you say that to people. Some people are like, oh yeah, love Twister. Like for whatever reason, for it being campy or whatever. And then there's people that are like, Twister?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, don't bash Twister. It's the best.
Yeah. I mean, I'll say I remember seeing it in the theater. Zach, do you remember your first time seeing it?
I think I saw it for the first time last year. I don't remember really seeing it growing up, or maybe just seeing bits and pieces of it.
Wow.
It wasn't a movie in our house because my mom doesn't like Twisters. She doesn't like to think about him. So that movie was not going to get played at our house because she doesn't even want to think about him.
Wait, really? Your mom has like a deep fear of tornadoes?
Well, yeah, because I'm at my parents right now, and I was like, I got to watch Twister for the podcast, and she's like, oh no, and she watched like the first scene of it, which is like one of the most traumatic Twister scenes, and she's like, all right, I'm out, I'm going to bed, bye.
That's amazing.
So she does not like tornadoes, so it wasn't a movie that I grew up with.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing it in the theater because like most people, the scene of the cow flying by is just like indelibly burned into the back of my brain.
It's iconic.
Cow.
We got cows.
Another cow.
Yeah. I'm surprised they burned the cow thing so early. It seems like something that gets saved for like the last chunk of the movie, but it happens pretty early.
It does.
Yeah. So I bought the movie yesterday so that I could get the special features.
Yeah.
It was funny too because it was like, do I really want to spend $14 on Twister just for like a 30-minute documentary? And then so I put it off, and then I checked again yesterday and it was $10.
There you go. A bargain.
I know. I was like, shh.
And then you were like, yes, I do. Yes, I absolutely do.
I'm totally buying Twister so I can watch it whenever I want now. But But yeah, so there was one moment where Bill Paxton is talking about the cow, and he's like,
It's so funny because that is such a popular moment in the movie, especially with young kids and stuff. They love the flying cow. I told Jan my version would be, in the Gothic version, the cow would fly by once, and then you wouldn't see the cow again. Then about 15 seconds, it would just rain hamburger meat down on the car as the barometric pressure just exploded the cow.
Good old Paxton.
Yeah. I love him.
yeah. So the director of this movie, Jan de Bont, he directed Speed,
That's right.
Another great movie.
Great movie.
and I think that's it.
And I think,
He's got Twister and Speed.
but from what I heard, Twister 2
Oh, right.
coming out July of 2024, which will be my 40th birthday.
Wow.
And if that is not a gift from God, I do not know what is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, that
Yes.
is your birthday?
Well, July,
Oh, July.
in
Oh, in
July,
July. Yeah,
in
yeah, yeah.
July. And but from what I heard, I think he's doing the second one too.
Wow.
Nice.
Yes.
They're bringing back Hunt.
Bringing back Hunt. Yeah, and it's weird because no Philip Seymour, obviously, no Bill Paxton.
So many lost greats.
Yeah, but yeah, I don't know who else is signed up. I know she has for sure, but what a day that will be.
Yeah, we'll have to do a Twister 2 episode when it
Yeah.
comes
Yes.
out.
Yes.
Yeah. So interesting thing about the production of this, it's one of the only times that Universal and Warner Brothers made a movie together.
Mm.
And it's also Spielberg produced.
Yep.
Kathleen Kennedy is the producer as well, who's big Star Wars producer now.
Yeah, she runs all the Star Wars stuff pretty much on Disney.
Yeah. But Spielberg, continuing his fascination with divorce and
Yep.
with this. And
Yep.
Kim, obviously, we would be remiss to talk about the divorce theme in this, and that you and I, the reason we are family is because we were both products of divorce.
Yep.
I'm just curious if that plays into your fascination with this film at all.
I mean, maybe a bit. That was pretty early. So I was 17 when my parents got divorced. So that was early. I think that it definitely touched on some stuff, and I just loved rooting for the two of them. And even now when I watch it, I just find myself, so I hate the fiance. Like,
She's so bad.
She bothers me so much. So the whole time, then and now, I'm always just like, you're gonna leave Helen Hunt for her? Really? Like,
Yeah.
she just screams the whole time. But I do love the reproductive therapy bit, like her answering her cell phone with that always does make me laugh. But I loved like hating her and rooting for them. Like, that is still one of my favorite feelings of the entire thing. And I was just like, I'm gonna be Helen Hunt. I want to be Helen Hunt. I still feel that way. Like, it is like, she is just in this movie is my absolute hero 100%.
Yeah, I did feel bad for the fiance character a little bit, just because, it's just kind of just getting thrown around in these horrific tornado situations, and nobody's like really gives a shit about her, and she's like
just dusty.
She's watching her boyfriend or fiance have more chemistry with Helen Hunt than she does, and and like has to listen to the radio of like him like say that great scene when they're arguing in the rain.
Yes.
And like she's like somehow hearing it through the radio.
Joe, things go wrong. You can't explain it. You can't predict it. Killing yourself won't bring your dad back. I'm sorry he died, but it was a long time ago. You gotta move on. Stop living in the past and look at what you got right in front of you.
What are you saying?
Me, Joe.
It's me, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole scene.
And Dusty's just holding that umbrella that's doing absolutely nothing.
Yeah. And she's just like making this like slightly disgruntled face as she hears it.
As she gets pummeled with water.
She's like, this
Yeah.
is crazy. And he's like, what do you mean?
That-
He's
I
like,
think
we're in the
that's
middle
what-
of a tornado, dude. Like, she is kind of the voice of reason in a way.
But also the voice of like, really, you're not interested in this at all. Like,
No, she is. Remember, because she's in the car and she's like, I'm interested. I'll tag along.
I feel like she's like pretending to be interested though.
Yeah.
And because then when they really talk to her about it and like, I get it. I'd probably be completely freaking out too. Although I don't know. I think if I were with people I trusted, I would just be like having the time of my life. But I was just like, really, you're not.
Would you do that? I would not. I would not get in a truck with storm chasers.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It would have to be a very, I mean, I'm a real safe rule follower for sure. It would just depend. I would love to think that I could, but when it came down to it, I don't know. But I think it would be incredible.
One other thing I just want to bring up is this movie was written by Michael Crichton.
Yes. I always forget that.
So the Spielberg Crichton connection is pretty interesting, I think.
Yes.
Because obviously Michael Crichton wrote Jurassic Park. He made Jurassic Park with Spielberg. Spielberg then just kind of gave him the keys to write something that, you know, would be his own, and then helped make those connections between Jan de Bont and Michael Crichton and make his vision come to life, because actually he wrote that movie with his then wife.
Okay.
They got paid $2 million to write that script, which at the time was the most anybody had ever been paid to write a script.
I did hear that. It was like the most expensive screenplay of its time. Yeah. And I also heard that Spielberg made strong noises about wanting to direct it for a while. And I think about what would that have been like? Like, I don't know like how different it would have been, but I find that fascinating. Like, I could so see that happening.
Yeah, well, he did have a lot of input in the movie. Like, it was actually Spielberg's idea to have the dad die in the beginning of the movie.
Yes.
I think that the beginning of the movie was originally Helen Hunt just kind of having these like flashbacks of like having like a disturbed childhood.
Yeah, like a nightmare.
But Spielberg was like, no, we got to kill the dad.
We got to go. And I heard that was like a very last minute addition. Like that was like the last thing that they did. And it makes the movie like it would change so much if you didn't see. But you know what makes me so mad about that part? And I had to explain it to my kids. They've already seen it, but they rewatched it with me again last night. And it is so true. The Joe and her mom and the little Toto dog they're down in the cellar and they're okay. And I get it. He's holding the door. He's protecting his family, but they're like, why doesn't he just go down with them? Like, they're fine. It doesn't even seem that windy down there. Yeah. Like, they're fine. And it is true. And I was like, I found myself like trying to come to his defense. And then I was like, no, for real though. Why didn't he just like get down with like the canned beets? Like, just get down in that cellar.
Yeah. And it's interesting when they're looking at him struggle so hard, they're just kind of like looking at the whole situation in this like awe. Like, they're not like scared or screaming or crying or anything. They're just like, what is happening? And it isn't until he flies out.
And what a way to go. What a way to go.
The way he kind of zips away almost looks fun. He's like, bye.
Yeah, zip.
Yeah, it does look a little fun. I don't know. Maybe we should turn into storm chasers and just see what it's like to get sucked in to the suck zone.
To the suck zone.
The suck zone. It's the point, basically, at which the twister sucks you up.
Oh, so my favorite line. It's the second time he says it when he whispers it in her ear.
Yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh my God, that just makes the whole thing.
Yeah, he's so fun in this movie. I don't know.
So fun.
I mean, he's one of my favorite actors of all time, and I was super sad when he died.
Yeah.
Because he's great in everything. He can play so many different types of characters, like really serious or Capote or a fun guy like this, or like an innocent kind of closeted gay person in Boogie Nights. He's great in there.
Yes.
I don't know. I love him so much. He can do it
Yeah,
all.
he
He
And
can.
really
just great.
can.
It's great to see him in like a small but fun role like this.
Yes, and he just makes it. Like he just yeah, I don't know. I feel like he just made that character come to life. Like I wonder how much of that was like the character was written that way and how much they just brought him in and they were like, "Yep, here's Dusty. Here it is."
Mm-hmm.
I think he was breaking on the scene there. I mean, because he was a rising star from like 96 to 99
Yeah.
when, he was doing Boogie Nights. But I think, I mean, this had to be his big break
Yeah.
because this was one of the biggest blockbusters of the year. Twister was just behind Independence Day in 1996.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, everybody saw him and probably fell in love with him then.
Mm-hmm.
He was just such a unique character, such great energy, and obviously just an incredible actor. And
Yeah. And just took off.
like that dad in the beginning, just swept away into stardom. God, I love how they just introduce this ragtag crew of weather chasers, and Philip Seymour Hoffman seems kind of like the leader of the hippie weathermen.
Yes. Well, and then you have what's his face from Succession. I'm
Alan
blanking.
Ruck.
Yes, and it's so fun to see him too.
Yeah, Cameron from Ferris Bueller's Day Off is what I know him even more from.
Yes, of course. Yes.
Yeah, and you got all these faces that are familiar. I mean, I'll say their names. I mean, they're more known by their face than their name. But Sean Whalen, Joey Slotnick, Zach Greiner. I mean, Carrie Elwes, who is so good.
And then you got Princess Bride on the other side of the bad guys, and I love that whole element too.
There's also Jeremy Davies, he plays Daniel Faraday in Lost, and Lost is like my favorite TV show as a kid.
Yes.
So like I loved seeing him. He doesn't really do much, but just having him around makes me happy because I loved his character in Lost.
Yeah,
For
and
sure.
Patrick Fischler, who's the guy with like the really pronounced eyebrows, who's on that team. He's in Mulholland Drive, which is one of my favorite films of all time.
Right.
He's in the classic Winkies scene where they see the monster behind the diner. It's so funny too, because we talked about this in our Cocaine Bear episode. My biggest problem with that movie was that there were too many people I recognized.
Takes you out of it.
Yeah, it takes me out of it. I'm just like, oh, there's that guy and that guy. But this movie is like that, but I had the total opposite reaction. I was like, yes, I love seeing all these people together. It's just an all-star cast.
Yes. But it was before a lot of that. I mean, Helen Hunt was, still in the thick of Mad About You, but, and Bill Paxton was definitely already on the scene. But that's what's so fun too, is that a lot of these people, this was like some of the beginning. So it's recognizable faces, but not in a distracting way.
Right. Yeah. Because at that time, a lot of these people weren't really known that well. Maybe like Alan Ruck from Ferris Bueller or something, but
yeah, and you're not really asked to like really know too much about most of these characters. They're just like providing fun energy.
Yes.
So they're not like distracting with their own plot lines or anything. So I think that also kind of helps too.
Yes, and the comic relief.
Yeah.
So talking about the cast, there's an interesting connection here. So the guy with the jean jacket, who has got kind of like the thin beard. That's Todd Field, who plays Nick Nightingale in Eyes Wide Shut.
Yes.
And there's just all this interesting Kubrick connection to it. And so he probably didn't start shooting Eyes Wide Shut until 97. So it was like the year after this. And obviously The Shining is playing at the drive-in.
Yes.
And there are two characters on the evil weather chaser team named Kubrick and Stanley.
I didn't catch that.
I didn't catch that either. Interesting.
Yeah. And I think that I think maybe it's just because it's a Warner Brothers movie and they just had the rights to Kubrick, and they just use it. But obviously, it's like a very like intentional use.
Yeah, like a little homage, like a little bow to him. Yes, yeah, and I love that it's The Shining. That just like seals the deal.
Yeah, because you love The Shining, right?
I love The Shining. Love The Shining. Yeah, love Kubrick and love Stephen King, even though they hated each other during that whole movie was not the two of them coming together. But still, I love everything about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Spielberg and Kubrick were buddies too. Like they kind of worked on AI together or something.
Oh, right.
So that could be a part of why Kubrick's kind of got some homages in this.
Yeah.
So Kim, Todd Field, do you know what else he's done?
By the way you're saying that, I feel like I should.
I know you've seen one of his movies recently.
Yeah, he's also a director. He's not just an actor.
Tell me.
Tar.
Oh,
He directed Tar.
Tar.
One of my favorite movies of last year, and I know you hated it.
Tar and I did not get along, but I respect it for what it is, and I love that he was involved. But wow, he directed that. Interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that is.
I was trying to find some way to like get you to say how much you loved Todd Field.
Just so you could ruin it for me.
Yeah.
But why did you hate Tar?
It just lost the plot for me. Like I didn't understand where it was going even when it got there. Love Kate Blanchett, and Kate Blanchetted her way through the whole thing and was amazing, like how she always is. But I didn't understand the message. There were just, as my dad would say, that movie wasn't made for me. Just wasn't made for me. And that's okay. I could appreciate it for what I thought the story and the story of that conductor in real life is fascinating. But yeah, it lost me before even halfway through.
Mm-hmm. Wait, do you think that Tar is a real person?
Well, but based on don't even go there.
No, but it is a thing. People like think that Lydia Tar is a real person and that this movie is based on a real conductor.
Well, but it's Marin Alsop that they think, and she came out getting really pissed and saying, I know that this is based on me, and basically I don't appreciate it.
Oh yeah.
So that component of it is very interesting, and there are a lot of similarities there. But no, she was not impressed. I mean, it obviously was close enough that she was like, I know this is about me, guys.
Yeah. I'm sure Todd Field has some choice words about that.
Uh-huh.
It's like even if it was based on her, it's like we didn't know until you just complained about it.
Well, right. So like really part of you loved that it was about you. Like, let's just be, or you wouldn't have said anything.
Well, I can totally understand not liking Tar. I mean, Zach and I saw it together and were kind of just like a little flabbergasted.
Yeah, I think we both liked it, but yeah, we were just like kind of, it took a while to process for sure, like what exactly we just watched. And yeah, I just rewatched it, and I feel like the ending still doesn't totally really work for me. Like I feel like there's a lot of debate over the ending of that movie, and I feel like it just doesn't really give you like a really concise way to feel about it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched it a second time, it reminded me so much of a David Lynch film, like in the way that time moves, or like a Charlie Kaufman movie, almost like a subtle Charlie Kaufman movie. Tying this back to Philip Seymour Hoffman, like Synecdoche, New York, where like time just jumps and you're just like, where am I now? Why am I here? What's going on? It's like I love that element of Tar, and I don't know, it's just like something that I feel like I'm going to keep going back to. But we're not talking Tar, we're talking Twist Tar.
Don't
let's veer it back to Twister.
Don't talk Tar to me. Don't talk Tar to me. Well, I will say that I do feel like even for 96, it holds up. Like the special effects hold up. Like there are moments. And I think Twister 2 will obviously be on a whole nother level. But I do think even coming from 96, it did pretty well.
Yeah, all the Twister stuff looks pretty great, I think. There is like one shot at the beginning of like a CGI kind of satellite that looks pretty dated.
Yes. Or when the title comes up in the very beginning and it looks like one of those PowerPoint like that you would pick from PowerPoint where it like slides on in like the, you know what I'm talking about, in that font
Totally.
that just
Yeah.
screams 90s to me. And I'm like, they could have picked a better font. Like it takes me out of it every time.
Yes. Yeah, no, I'm so glad you brought that up, Zach, because that was like one of the first notes I wrote down. It's like, God, like for a movie that's like known for its incredible special effects, like why do they have this like terrible graphic shot of the satellite right up top?
Yeah, this came about 3 years after Jurassic Park. You think Steven Spielberg would have nixed that or something?
I'm like, let's lose the satellite. It doesn't do anything.
It doesn't need to be. And it's like a little clip art that was just like pasted in. Like, whose idea was that?
It's such a bad thing. I was a little nervous when that came out. I was like, ooh, are these graphics gonna be terrible? But I mean, it's pretty amazing when you watch it. You really don't know what's real and what's fake. I mean, pretty much everything that gets destroyed is fake. Or anything that's flying through the air is fake. All the tractors, all the cars, the tornado itself, when the barns and the houses get destroyed by the tornado, those are all CGI, obviously.
They do have great shots of like trucks and like stuff like falling out of the sky and onto
lots of trucks falling out of the sky.
And
that was
stuff
like a favorite.
Real.
Yeah.
So 2 things about the graphics and the special effects. The cow was originally a model of one of the zebras from Jumanji.
What?
Like they took the zebra from Jumanji and basically just distorted it to be a cow.
Wow.
Why did they do that?
I don't know. Save time. Because it's like, I think at that time, to build a 3D model of something probably took a lot of effort.
Yeah.
And so they were like, well,
they just took the base. They just took like the,
We're like 75% there with the zebra.
Just use
the
the
black
zebra.
and white animal. Let's just use it.
It flies by real quick. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah. And then apparently the gas truck that explodes was real, but the first time they did it, they didn't capture it on film.
Oh,
and so they had to do it again. And like, I guess Jan de Bont didn't like tell the studio until afterwards, but it was like basically like $500,000 mistake.
That's an expensive. Well, and I also heard that one of the camera operators missed their cue at one point, and he punched him in the face, and it got so ugly that the rest of the camera crew went on strike and either quit and was replaced, or they worked something out. But apparently, bit of a temper there.
Yeah. Jeez, smoke some weed. Go back to Amsterdam, buddy.
But yet, the $500,000 mistake he let.
Yeah, and he's like, let's just do it again.
Yeah. No one
get
needs to
another
mention that.
gas truck in here.
It's like Fableman's with the train. Like he actually got to do it.
But that might have been the mistake, was that because in the notes here it just says because of a mistiming error, the gas truck was never captured on film.
Maybe that was, and that's a big one. I mean, if that was it, I might get the punch in the face. Like that's that might be warranted. That's a big, what were you just not paying attention? Like giant truck explodes in front of you and you're at like craft services.
Yeah. It's like got a donut in his mouth. He's like, oh shit.
Oh wait.
Oh, dang.
Doing that now?
That was my cue.
Oh man.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, I just love that last shot still does it for me when they're chained to the thing and they look up and it's like that core piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that's really what it looks like. I don't care. It seems amazing because that's always the question, right? Like what is it like in there?
Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest. Paxton and Hunt die approximately 10 times in this movie.
Oh Lord. Yes.
Like they're the only thing in Oklahoma that doesn't get pulled off the ground. They're like in a literal tornado of debris. Like that
F5.
scene when they're being pulled up by the F5 and there's just like wood and objects being houses.
Like,
yeah.
Yep.
everything misses them somehow.
Well, and their eyes are open and they're watching this whole thing, and all I can think of is like all the shit that would be flying in your eyes. Like, there's no way you're just like, wow. Like,
Yeah, no,
you
you're
can't
dead.
even go out in like a regular windstorm and keep your eyes open. But in F5,
if a dime hit you in the neck
you'd be done.
in an F5, you're done.
And I love how they end up in the little hut, and there's like belts there. I also love when they go in the barn and it's all like the machetes, and it's like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre situation in there.
Yeah, there's a great line. Joe's like, who are these people?
Who are
then
these people?
Bill Paxton's reaction is, I don't think so. It doesn't make any sense. Like, he's like, it's so funny.
Well, and they like duck underneath the flying debris at all the perfect parts. Like, like a piece of a car comes by and they both fall to the floor immediately. And she goes around a corner and goes back immediately. It's just too perfect.
Or like when the boat like flies over him and like Paxton's just like, whoa.
Yeah, no fear there. Or I love when he goes out to turn on Dorothy the first time, and it takes it, he's out there in the hail for like 20 minutes, and she's like braking, and he's flying around and hitting his head. But then when she goes out for the last Dorothy, she's like, boop, it's like one on switch. I'm like, why was he out there for so long?
I know.
I love how crappy like the Dorothy design seems. Like, it's just like a bunch of balls, and like literally it topples over and all the balls spill like immediately, like 3 different times in the movie. It's like, oh no.
And they're just gathering them, like, and then they make the little pinwheel. And I love how they make like thousands and thousands of those in just the time it takes to drive over to
Yeah. And I love when all the balls are released, and it's very Spielbergian. Like, they all kind of fly into the tornado.
And there's a
like
little sound effect. Ching, 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 ching.
The triumphant music.
Yes.
But it's like a million little ETs on their bike, like just flying into the tornado.
Yes.
Into the suck zone.
They finally did it. They got those balls in the tornado.
They got the balls in the suck zone.
It's beautiful.
And they're like, we did it. And then it all goes downhill. Also, when they jump out of the truck in the cornfield, and they're just able to open the doors and not get smacked in the face by all the corn stuff.
Well, apparently Helen Hunt did get injured during that scene. Like the door actually did like hit, like, I assume a corn stalk, and like hit her in the head. So they had to like wedge those doors open
so that they couldn't,
so they wouldn't move. But she got injured during that scene. And that was like one big requirement from Jan de Bont. He was like, I don't want a single complaining actor in this. Like, it's going to be difficult. You know, like you're gonna be battered in this movie. Yes. And I guess for that hail scene that you were just talking about, a few interesting things there is because they're in Oklahoma, there's no ice. So they had to like fly ice in from all over the country. And they had to get it specially made with milk so that it would be opaque and like it would show up on camera.
Well, that's the craziest part about it. So when we had that horrible storm where a tornado didn't end up forming, but we had, the only time I've heard Colorado sirens go off and all of that, when we came out, when it was done, it was baseball size hail. I mean, like, we have pictures of it. It's unreal. Like how destructive and he's just out there with his little raincoat, with his little, which all I see when I see that little yellow raincoat is the scene from It. Yeah, Georgie. Like that was distracting for me.
I think of Paddington Bear, but
well, you go happy, I go dark.
Do we want to talk about the Helen Hunt of it all?
Yeah, Helen Hunt is so great in this movie. I don't know,
she's amazing.
She's just so charming, and I don't know, she just like has chemistry with everyone she talks to. I love her in this movie, and she's just great in general. I never watched Mad About You really, but I kind of want to just to get more Hunt in my life.
Just to get, I know, and their chemistry is what makes it. They have amazing chemistry together. Like you buy it. I bought it right away.
I just love that whole introductory scene where
Yeah.
You meet Helen Hunt and all the gang of weathermen, and you got the Tori Amos playing in the background.
Yes. I always think about like how did he find them? Like how did he like she's like, I'm so glad that you found us, but then I'm like, come to think of it, how did you find them in the middle of nowhere? Maybe that was like a spot that I also love when they're at Aunt Meg's, right?
Meg's eggs,
and they got the cow. Thanks for the cow. And did you see the cows in my front yard? That's why we have all this. I love that whole bit. But when they talk about how crazy Bill Paxton's character was, how he was like the first time they met him and he throws the whiskey bottle into the twister and it never touches the ground. Like that's my
yeah.
I love
and
that.
He was naked.
And he was
lacking apparel.
He was lacking apparel.
Good Todd Field scene.
Yes.
No. In a severe lightning storm, you want to grab your ankles and stick your butt in the air.
He's right. If you're gonna get hit, it's the safest orifice.
Yeah, I like to get hit by lightning once. You know, see what it's like.
Hey, this is real lemonade. Hey, Meg, I'm moving in here.
You guys, look out. Make a space.
Yeah, that's when the movie's at its best. I feel like it's just like it feels like a big hangout movie.
Yes.
And there's some just good hangout scenes. I mean, also the tornado stuff's also really good, but yeah, it's a good hangout movie.
Well, and then when it's she's upstairs taking a shower, and it's have any of you seen an F5? And it just goes quiet, and they all subtly look upstairs. Love that little those little moments.
But I have never wanted to sit at a table more in my whole life than in that breakfast scene. It's just like the food looks incredible, and
whole
it's
thing.
like you got every great every great actor is sitting at that table just palling around and joking.
Yes.
I want to be there so bad.
And then what's her face is all judgy about the food, the fiance. Like I hate that part. Like she's all like because Dusty gives her the gravy and the steak and she's all like, ew. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? Like what?
The most perfectly cooked steak you've ever seen
fresh
in your life.
Fresh off the cow.
Just bam,
you got
slaps
Philip
on your plate.
Seymour Hoffman sitting next to you. And you're going to make that face?
My God. Unbelievable. Like
get her out of here.
Yeah, seriously, get her out of here. But I love how they end the relationship and she's just like, you know what? I'm done.
I'm not even upset.
Yeah.
I'm saying goodbye.
No.
You know what? I can't compete with this. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Wait, don't do this now, please.
Sooner or later,
Please.
it ended. We both know that.
And Bill Paxton's like, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, I mean, yeah, she's annoying, but I feel like she's kind of annoying for a reason. She's like, she's supposed to be like us, right? Like, that's just kind of like taken along for the ride.
Well, maybe you. I would be.
I'd be having fun.
So into it, it would not even be funny. Like Rich is like, every time we watch this movie, you say the exact same things. What's wrong with her? Why is she not excited?
Did Rich watch it with you all last night too?
Oh yeah, and the number of late nights that Rich has dealt with. Let's turn on Twister.
Here we go again.
Oh yeah, I found the line from the fiance is when you said you used to chase tornadoes, deep down I just thought it was a metaphor. I think that's a good
I
line.
love that line. No, and I love her. I think her character is very necessary. I think the actress is incredible, but she's supposed to make you like she's supposed to, you know, you can see that he can't be with her. Like she's just like a blubbering mess like the whole time. And Helen Hunt is just like the coolest chick.
Yeah. She does dump him in a very chill way though. Like I thought she would like start screaming and go off on him. And she's like, you know what? I know this is not going to work out.
I
Yeah.
can't
This is a
compete
very
with this. That's what she says. I can't. And I'm like, no, you cannot. And you can't
Yeah.
compete. My kids brought up an interesting thing when we were watching it yesterday, which I found hilarious. They were like, man, Helen Hunt's got a lot of clean white shirts. Because every time they go, like when they go to the motel or Aunt Meg, she comes out and I'm like, yeah, an interesting choice. Like white, I wouldn't go with white.
Yeah. And just speaking of the clothes, like Jamie Gertz, who plays the fiance, her like Morpheus glasses, like her sunglasses.
Yes, the tiny.
And Helen Hunt has like
Yes.
funny sunglasses too.
And
Like
Philip Seymour Hoffman has those like goggles.
Yeah.
There's like a goggle thing.
Yeah, and another '90s thing is the soundtrack. You already shouted out Tori
Oh, yeah.
Amos, but
Mhm.
there's also like later in that scene, like in the background, there's a Stevie Nicks song, which she actually wrote for the movie. It's called Twisted. I was just listening to it before we recorded, and it's great. It's Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham of Fleetwood Mac, and it's a great little tune. And there's a lot of good artists on here. You got the Goo Goo Dolls and Alison Krauss and Shania Twain. Just
Chili
a lot of
Peppers.
Chili Peppers, Rusted Root, Van Halen has a song called Respect the Wind that I think he made for the movie as well. It's like instrumental. So it's like good 90s.
The Chili Peppers wrote their song for the movie too.
Wow.
A lot of original songs.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's always like a good song playing on in the background of most scenes, like if it's just like a conversation scene. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I like the Van Halen instrumental at the end. That guitar screaming.
It's perfect.
Yeah, and the sound effects actually are really, really good in this. Like, because I was listening to it on headphones, watching the movie with headphones on, and all of the sounds when the twister is coming close to them, and you just got all these really crazy wind sounds. And I guess they were like mixing a bunch of like animal scream noises. Like, so it's like a lion's roar. And I guess they like slowed down like a camel's moan.
Wow. The first thing that anytime I've talked to anyone who has been through a tornado, that they all say the same thing, which is it sounds like a train. Like it sounds like a train is running through your house, like that level of a deafening, and that is just so scary. It's so scary to think about going through. And you have no, like, I don't even know now how great the warning. I mean, obviously I'm sure it's better, but I mean, you see it every year with these towns just getting pummeled and getting very little warning. And, the weathermen, they rely, the meteorologists, on the storm chasers a lot of the time. And so it's crazy. And there was that really famous one that got killed a couple years ago that was like, he was like the main guy that would send information back, and he got sucked up in the twister.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Or was killed in like that. That was how he died. Took a wrong turn and just, and how quickly they move, like how quickly they change course is fascinating to me. And you can see it coming, but you don't really know where it's going to go.
Yeah. Super unpredictable.
Oh yeah. Speaking of sound, I just looked it up, and this movie was nominated for Best Sound at the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
But it didn't win. It was also nominated for Best Visual Effects.
Yeah.
And those
what won?
I don't know what won, but I can tell you that those are the two nominations.
But it wasn't Twister.
Yeah, I like when they are adding in the weather realism of it, when you like see the NSSL in the beginning.
Yeah.
And like the first line's like, this is gonna be a long day.
This is gonna be, yes. And I did hear, and I don't know if it's those scenes, but I did hear that they brought in real Oklahoma weather people. Do this for a living, that like know what they're talking about. I don't know. I'm assuming it was those scenes, but that like that is what they did, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah. And I guess when Bill Paxton died in 2017, all of these storm chaser people drove in a pattern that said BP, and you could see it on their GPS trackers. which is like
Wow.
the first time like any of these, like there's like a, I don't know, like a union of storm chasers.
Yeah.
And that was the first time they ever did it for somebody who wasn't a storm chaser, like in real life.
Aw.
So yeah, R.I.P. Bill Paxton. I want to shout him out because he's just, I mean, I feel like this is one of his more subdued roles. Like, even though he is like very animated and obviously he's like this guy with a temper, but in a lot of his movies, he's going full Nick Cage.
Yep. Oh
just
yeah.
wild.
Yeah, Aliens.
Near Dark, he's incredible in. I don't know if you've ever seen that. Yeah. And this really weird movie called Boxing Helena, which was directed by David Lynch's daughter.
Whoa.
And he is unbelievable in this movie.
Well, and I did hear that he was from the beginning was always pushing for a sequel, and really, and he said, you know, I feel like this is like the first one is like it's like a Jaws franchise where like the first one was awesome, but the second one would take it way, way farther. And it's just such a bummer that he's not in it. Like it, you know, and I wonder why. Like it so could have lined up for a sequel easily.
Yeah. I mean, but he was busy. He's making Titanic. He's other stuff. I don't know.
Other things.
Yeah.
Titanic. Other things.
Yeah, he's not in a ton of movies, or like he doesn't have like big leading man performances, so that's why it's nice in this movie where he gets to be the leading man.
And in Near Dark too, he's got some incredible scenes too, like when he starts the fight in that bar and like kills the whole bar as a vampire. Unbelievable. Like he's so good. So good.
I need to watch this now.
Oh man, yeah, it was directed by Catherine Bigelow.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I love him, and he has so much more range than I feel like a lot of times he got credit for.
Yeah, one of my favorite moments, or when the house topples in front of the road and they like drive through the house, but before then he's like, I think we're going in. Yes. It's the way he says that.
And
is
apparently
so good.
there was a Universal ride, a Twister Universal ride, and I'm like, why was I not on that ride? Like
I actually, that was brought to my attention, and I looked up. There is a walkthrough of the Twister ride online, and basically, like they have two screens set up when you're in kind of like the waiting room going into the stage where the Universal ride is.
Okay,
and it's Bill Paxton introducing the ride.
Oh.
At the same time, a tornado is one of the most awe-inspiring sights one can witness in nature, full of majesty and mystery. I'm Bill Paxton. I play a storm chaser determined to confront that mystery by getting as close as possible to a raging twister.
And I'm Helen Hunt. I can tell you that when we agreed to make Twister, we had no idea what we'd signed up for. Because awesome as these storms are, they're also unpredictable.
But the ride, it's not a ride. It's like you sit in a theater basically, and it's the drive-in scene, and like the drive-in thing like rips off, and like a tree splits, and then I guess like the big scary part is like the roof over the audience kind of collapses a little bit.
Okay.
It's literally like 3 minutes of just like wind and smoke and like a few props flying around. And then it's like, and then it ends, and then it's like, this is Bill Paxton. Thanks for riding the Twister ride.
Thank you for surviving Twister. Please pick up your personal belongings and exit to your left. This is Bill Paxton. Have a great day at Universal Studios, Florida.
Does your chair move around at least?
No, it didn't seem like it. It's just like
They
you're just
weren't there
watching some destruction. Yeah.
So my Christmas present from Ophelia was this diorama. Oh wait, the Twister just fell out. So you got the Twister, you got the house, and there's the cow. There's the cow. And she made this for me for Christmas because of my love for the film.
Oh my gosh.
And there it is, and it sits in my office, and it is truly A masterpiece.
So for those who can't see this, it's in an Amazon Prime box, and it's like a diorama of a flying house and a flying cow, and it's all cut out of cardboard. It's very
Here's
adorable.
the truck, or a tractor, perhaps. Here it is. It's like, so that
Amazing.
just shows you how deep this goes.
Amazing. Yep.
It's kind of perfect. I did laugh
That's
when
incredible.
you were talking about what we should talk about on this podcast, and I was like half joking, half not.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I feel like if it's me, it's got to be Twister, and you were like, I love that.
Yeah. No, I mean, we are all about people talking about the things that make them the most excited.
Yes.
So
I love it.
Yeah, one thing I want to talk about we didn't really touch on was the whole rival like storm chaser, which really plays into the whole like kind of campy, goofy energy of this movie, is the fact that there is like a rival team led by Carrie Elwes.
Yeah, in the Dodge Caravans, all the black Dodge Caravans.
Yeah, and I love the Bill Paxton's like, they're in it for the money, we're in it for the science. Like they're like sponsored by some corporation or something. I don't know. It's just a really funny rivalry. And
they get sucked up into the tornado, and then they meet a horrible end.
Yeah.
And Helen Hunt's like, well, there's nothing we could do. I mean, we tried.
Yeah, they try to warn him, like, hey, you're kind of going right into it. And Carrie Elwes is like, no. And then his like sidekick guy is like, maybe we should listen to him. And then
impaled.
Yeah, not even Carrie Elwes, the more nasty of them gets impaled. It's like the nicer one gets impaled. It's like, damn, that's kind of brutal.
Who knew?
Really took that guy out.
Yes. and everybody just kind of winces for a minute.
Yeah.
And then they're over it.
Like, oh.
Yeah, it's still a happy ending, even though those two grisly deaths happen. But,
yeah. Amazing. Yeah, no, and I love how they're just like constantly running into each other in the same like one lane street, driving side by side, like 12 cars just like side by side on these one-way streets.
Yes.
So goofy.
It's like such a cramped, like just visually very like claustrophobic scenes, like we're just like, why are they doing this? Like, just stick to one group of storm chasers. But I mean, this was like classic 90s cinema. You had to have like a very clear villain at all times.
A rivalry. Yeah.
And Carrie Elwes trying to pull off the Southern accent was a little like,
oh God, I know, but I love him though. I love him so much, and I love that it's him. I love that it's him that plays the villain.
Yeah, because he doesn't really play a villain in too many movies other than maybe Liar Liar. He's the like evil stepdad or whatever. But not even evil. He's like super nice.
Yes.
He's just not Jim Carrey.
Yeah, exactly.
But one other thing, Kim, that I think that this should be a bucket list thing for us, and you probably already know about this.
Storm chasing.
We should chase a tornado.
Me and you.
But the town of Waukeeta is a real town in Oklahoma, and that is where they shot that movie. So those scenes where it's big overhead shot of all the debris, they actually went to that town, and people sold their house for like anywhere from like $7,000 to $10,000 to have it be destroyed.
Wow.
and then like throw all this stuff on the ground. So it was actually real houses that they destroyed in a lot of in that town of like 600 people. And to this day, there is a Twister museum there.
Oh my God.
We have to go.
We have to go. Well, I'm thinking, well, yeah, of course they'd sell their houses, because normally their house just gets pummeled and they're just at the mercy of the insurance company. So why not do it?
Yeah.
Why not do it for the movie? But that sounds incredible. That is a definite bucket list item for sure.
And I want to go to Tulsa anyways, because they got the new Bob Dylan museum there.
Yes.
I've never been to Oklahoma, so I think this is
Yeah, no, we can make a whole thing about it.
Yeah, I think we got to do it at some point. So, Kim, is there anything else you would like to say about Twister? Is there anything else your daughters may like to say about Twister?
Let's see. Would you like to pop on and say anything about Twister, or how you feel about it or how you feel about my love for it. Were you as impressed with it as me? It was a little underwhelming the first time I showed it to them. I was so excited. And they were like, yeah. Cool. And I was like,
Tornadoes
really?
don't really do it for him.
I don't think it hit the level of excitement.
All right. Well, Kim, what about you? Is there anything else you want to say that we didn't say?
I don't think so. I mean, I just want it to be recognized how incredible it is on so many levels, and you can't diss Twister. You just can't. And oh, do you have something now? Ophelia says special effects still hold up. Still hold up. Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree.
I do have one little thing with the film with family connection. At the beginning of the movie, there's like a tornado that splits into two, and it's like, we got sisters.
We got sisters. I love that.
So that's a family connection there.
So I was watching it with my mother-in-law last night, and she hadn't seen it in forever, like probably since it came out. And I did even laugh at myself because she was like, when's that cow part? And I was like, you don't get to that until the sisters. You don't get to, and she was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, whoa. I love that part. No, it is. Well, and I mean, for me, it's just so, I always went to these types of movies with my dad and still do. Anything, natural disaster, sci-fi, that was always our deal. And so, I think that's how it starts. So there's nostalgia with that for sure. But it's also just what's not to like. What's not to like? Like, yeah. It's just, even if you don't like one part of it, there's a million other parts that bring you in. And it just, my 40th birthday is really going to be, I'm planning the party now. It's really going to be something.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back for Twister 2.
Oh my God. Sure. I will die.
Yeah, I'll just say I love this movie. I'm so glad that you brought it back to our attention, because I really don't think I've seen it since I saw it in the theater when I was 9. And, I've heard a lot of grief about this movie. A lot of people don't like it for whatever reason. But so I came into it cautiously optimistic, but was so I was just like, I can't believe how stacked this cast is. The action is so good and the storytelling is so good. Yes. I just had such a blast watching it. And so thank you for requesting this, and you will always be my Twister sister.
I am honored, and it has been a blast. And for all those people that don't like it, the thing is, though, you do. I bet you do. I would bet anything. And I know a lot of those people, including my brother-in-law, but I guarantee if you watched it with me, you would have stuff to say. You'd be entertained the whole time. You may make fun, like we made fun of stuff. Like there is, obviously suspension of disbelief. That's why we watch movies, but you would enjoy it. So you do like it. You just don't know that you do.
Exactly. And if you don't like this movie, to quote Philip Seymour Hoffman, you are a loser. Loser. What a wiener.
And if for anything else, you gotta just love it for him for no other reason.
One of his great roles. I mean, everything he does is incredible, but
yes,
it's up there with his all-star performances of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
I wouldn't go that far, but that's just because I love so many other Seymour Hoffman performances.
Yes,
but he's definitely a lot of fun in this movie. And Helen Hunt's amazing.
Yes.
Don't diss on Dusty.
Dude, but he's just having fun. It's just fun to watch him have fun.
Yeah. Well, this was a great talk. Thank you so much for your time, Kim. I know you got to get running, but thank you for talking about Twister with me and Zach. I'm so glad that you and Zach got to meet.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, it was fun.
A new family connection made. That's what we're about on this podcast. We're about family, we're about love, and we're about movies.
Yes.
Yes.
As one of my son's friends said to me the other day, Oscar's family, they sure do love movies. And I was like, can't argue with that. Well, it's been a pleasure, gentlemen. I love it. I love everything about it, and I had a blast talking with both of you.
If you like what you heard here, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on wherever you get your podcasts.
Yeah, follow us on social media. We're Instagram and Twitter, Film with Family. Find us there. We love our family.
And we love the movies.
See you next week.